Yeah, I gotta keep it trendy on my soul. I'm the most selfish person that I know. Here we go, down the rabbit hole. Got a couple carrots round my neck. Self-respect, when you out of line, you put yourself in check. They don't hear me, they don't hear me though. Cycles going round and round and round like a merry-go. Stand for truth, or fall for any old scenario. That's why I keep my circle smaller than a Cheerio. Cause it's the company you keep. Stay woke, please don't get caught sleep. End up sowing what you reap. Know your worth, and don't sell cheap. The ghost is inside of me, can't take it out of me. No matter where I've been, it's about where I'm meant to be. I be shining perfect time and check your watch. And I know who I am no longer lost. I got tired of walking around with a mask on, smiling but my heart singing sad songs. Yeah, I was living for myself.
Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. We have a jam-packed show for you guys in store today. To my left or right, however you're looking at us, we got the main man, Connor Clark, joining the show. The man, the myth, the legend, Hollywood. CJ Hollywood is what I'm hearing. And of course, Mr. David Soderquist. Boys, how we doing? How we feeling? Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be on with Mr. Hollywood.
Y'all gotta chill with that.
Can you at least elaborate? Just give us a quick rundown of what that means.
If I could tell you, I would. I think it's just a lot of people trying to talk. I mean, I don't know. I just kind of went through the process of kind of doing what I do, and somehow, for whatever reason, somebody started calling me Hollywood, and I kind of shunned it for a while, then embraced it, and then now it's kind of exploded a little bit more than I would, I guess, like to. But I mean, just got to kind of go with it and run with it, right?
He's the Hollywood Hogan of Gator Media.
There it is. Hey, well, look, guys, I was just telling Connor before he hopped on. Connor was one of our very first guests on the show. He came on when we were absolutely nobodies, and we still are. So we always appreciate and love Connor for coming on and still putting up with us, man. So I appreciate you coming on and chit-chatting with old Soderquist and I, man.
Oh, of course, man. I have a good time every time we chop it up on here, and I'm glad I've been able to help you guys go from nothing to nothing.
Fair enough. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. Well, boys, welcome to the stream. We got a lot to go over, man. A lot of recruiting news happened this weekend. We had some big-time visits that we got to pick your brain about. Want to get your thoughts on just, spring practice, how things are going, and we'll go from there. And then, obviously, we'll have Holly on a little bit later to go over some more college football news. But let's start with some recruiting, man. Who are some names that you've got high on your list that the fans should be kind of, getting excited to hear about?
Oh man, starting out with a tough one. It's still really early in the process.
Sure.
I mean, they've got off to a great start with the guys they have in the class now. Obviously, two of the top linebackers in the country, Miles Graham, Adarius Hayes, and then you've got your guy at quarterback in DJ Lagway. So you definitely can use those guys. Should also mention Chauncey Bowen, somebody that's kind of blown up on the recruiting scene over the last month or so, getting Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Arkansas, Tennessee, all kind of different offers since committing to Florida. So somebody that's really, really underrated in my opinion. I think he's a top 100 prospect. But yeah, as far as that goes, I mean, those kind of big time prospects can really help you recruit the rest of the class. DJ Lagway in particular, you get your cornerstone quarterback. I'm looking to see if he can bring some guys over from Texas with him. As you've noticed, or if you haven't noticed, a lot of offers going out in the state of Texas because of DJ Lagway and because of the pull that he has in that state, from wide receiver to running back to offensive line, defensive line. Doesn't really matter. He's somebody that's going to get in their ear and really try to recruit them. I think somebody that I'm really high on. Maybe somebody that's underrated, I guess, because I like to do that. Let's see. I did get to see Mekhi Danzy this weekend, who is listed as an athlete out of the city of Tallahassee. Goes to Florida State University School. He's pretty high up on the running back board, in my opinion. somebody that's a 10-600-meter guy, a lot of speed there, and somebody that really is smooth in and out of routes and stuff like that. So I believe that he's somebody that's pretty high up on the board. So I like him a lot. There's so many different names that we could discuss.
Sure, I got a few.
Haven't
I got
in
a few here. I just didn't know if you
like
had
to.
any.
I mean, I've had so many names come through my head over the last weekend. We were out at a camp on Sunday to see a bunch of players from the state of Florida. So I've kind of had a bunch of names running through my head over the last week or so. So
I feel like
forgive me if I don't have anything pinpointed at this time.
No, you're good. I mean, it changes. I feel like from week to week. Like it's like, oh, we're all in on this guy, and all of a sudden we don't even hear about him anymore. I mean, I feel like Jarrett Gibson was one of those guys where obviously being a backyard guy who just in Gainesville felt like that was a lock, and then he comes and visits, and now it's crystal ball to Texas. It's like, what the hell happened? He was just hanging out with us.
Yeah, I mean, so that situation is a little different. He's, like you said, he's a Gainesville kid, committed to Florida when he was a freshman, right when he got the offer, then moved from Gainesville to Mundy's Mill, Georgia. I'm not sure where that city is, or maybe David can help elaborate
David's
on where
backyard.
that is in the state of Georgia. But then he goes from there to IMG as a junior. IMG, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. IMG encourages him to decommit, to see out the recruiting process, because somebody that's from Gainesville commits to Florida right away. If you do that, a lot of teams are not going to offer, because hometown team, they pretty much think you're locked in. He backs off that commitment, and his recruitment immediately explodes. Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas, you name it, he got an offer from him.
Okay.
So it's really helped out his recruiting process. It's allowed him to go through the process, which I think every prospect should.
Sure.
You only get to go through this process one time, maybe twice if you enter the transfer portal, because of the way things are now. But you should enjoy the process. I'm not saying that if you're committed to a school, go take 100 visits, because, I mean, you make a commitment. I think commitment is a commitment, but you never know what's going to happen. So take a couple visits here and there, enjoy your process, and really figure out if that's where you want to be.
No, yeah, I love that.
I was going to go. Connor, I know that we talked about, I think that's in Jonesboro, by the way, Monday's Mill. I looked it up a little bit. I've never heard of the high school, but we're talking about DJ Lagway here. And of course, he's from Willis, Texas. And if you go and you look, and usually most of the talent every year usually comes from the state of Florida. This year, a lot of the talent's in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
So
and Georgia.
For Florida to even pick up DJ Lagway to get from Willis, Texas as a 5-star quarterback, that's a big coup, a big feather in the cap for Florida, and it helps them out in the state of Texas this year, where most of the talent is.
No, you're absolutely right, David. Texas is absolutely loaded this year. I can't remember what I was looking at, like the top 50 players in the state of Texas, and I think you get down to number 50, and you're still within like the top 250 players or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I might be off on that by a little bit, but it's ridiculous, the amount of talent. Obviously, we know Florida always has a lot of talent, but Texas does as well, and then they've seemed to stepped it up a little bit this year.
And real quick, we got a couple super chats from the account FSU Sucks saying FSU sucks. So I just wanted to say thanks for the the donation, and couldn't agree more. I love it. Wanted to show some love here. When you were talking about Jarrett Gibson and him being committed before, being a hometown kid, not getting too many offers, reminded me of the analogy of basically kind of like, the kids in Bama and Georgia, locking down the cute, country girl because she doesn't know what she can go out there and get. And I feel like we allowed her to go to the big city, and we lost her. We lost her, boys. We shouldn't let her. We shouldn't let her leave the house. Should have closed the doors. It looks like he's moving on to bigger and bigger things. But look, I mean, that's kind of how it's going to go. I think I saw a couple things where Florida's still obviously in the mix a little bit, but for him being crystal ball to Texas by Wilt Fong, we talked about that. Wilt Fong doesn't miss. A couple names I have here, obviously with KC leaving, that's going to adjust the wide receiver room and the wide receiver recruiting in a little bit. A few names is Jeremiah Smith, and he mentioned that he is now backed off, right? Because KC was somebody who was – I want to see what you have on this, because KC, I guess, was texting him, communicating with him constantly. he said in an interview, I think it was with Corey Bender, I believe that was where I read the article, where since then it's almost been radio silence. Now they've communicated a little bit, but it hasn't been as much when KC was around. Two things that concerns me a little bit of like, well, why wouldn't we pick up where the ball was, left off? Well, is there that much disconnect going on, or was KC just that interested, or is it just kind of just a small transition period? Have you heard much about that?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a transition period when you have to go get a new wide receivers coach. Obviously, Billy Napier is a wide receivers coach by trade, so he can kind of step in, figure out what he wants to do, talk to these kids, and he is doing that a bit. You also have the assistant wide receivers coach and GA David Doker, who's also staying in communication with these guys. He's actually the one that's been working with the wide receivers during practice thus far in the spring until they hire that coach. Now, Jeremiah Smith is one of those guys where, hey, listen, if he had a really good relationship with KC's gone. I don't think there was ever a chance that he was coming to Florida regardless. He pretty much said in fewer words, or that it would take Brian Hartline getting fired from Ohio State for him to flip his commitment.
Interesting.
So, I mean, Brian
even with
Hartline
the decommitment of Dylan Raiola, still locked.
Yeah, still locked in. Brian Hartline has proven time and time again that he is the best recruiter in college football, bar none. Obviously, he did that last year, signing 3 5-star wide receivers, depending on what recruiting service you look at. And Jeremiah Smith is just the next in a long line of successful receivers that I think are going to be he's going to be an absolute baller at Ohio State. But then you've got a couple other receivers that I actually got the chance to speak with this weekend. Chance Robinson. He goes to St. Thomas Aquinas. I spoke to him this weekend, and he said, listen, I understand that Coach KC is gone. Doesn't change how I feel about Florida at all. He said he's still in constant communication with one of the off-field guys, Benedict Hippolyte, who's a South Florida guy himself. He stays in constant communication with Chance, and so does Coach David Doker. So you'll have those at different ends of the spectrum where one kid will really say, hey, listen, this guy's gone, completely changes my recruitment. And then you'll have others like Chance who's saying, hey, listen, I really liked KC, but him leaving does not affect how I feel about the University of Florida.
I love hearing that. Yeah, I had him on the list too. Go ahead, David.
I was going to say, yeah, and you also have kids that, it doesn't matter whether the position coach leaves or not. They have a bigger relationship with the head coach, and they just want to see what type of assistants coming in to further gauge an idea of whether they want to still pursue maybe a visit or something like that. But most of the time, they usually still will visit after they find out who the coach is, and then try to, kind of learn a little bit about them and also see the head coach as well. So I don't know how many kids you talk to, Connor. I'm pretty sure you talk to a lot more than I do because a lot of them still tag me in their posts and stuff. But I talk to a lot of them, and they usually seem to have a relationship more with the head coach rather than most of the assistants on the team. Am I not correct?
Yeah, especially with this staff. Billy Napier's super involved with all the recruiting aspects. Obviously, your head coach can't be the guy every time for every recruit. But you identify somebody that you really want, you really like, the head coach is going to be super involved, and specifically Billy Napier in this situation. So somebody like a Chance Robinson, if he's really high on Florida's board, he'll bridge that gap while also using the army that he brought in of guys like Benedict Hippolyte, David Doker. I would have said Jamar Chaney had he not but left for a on-field coaching job here as of, I think it was yesterday. But yeah, you've got that army of people that are there to bridge the gap for situations like this. And I don't think that gap is going to go on much longer. I think Florida's probably going to hire or announce the hiring of a wide receivers coach here. I would say probably by the end of this week, most likely. And you'll get that guy on campus. He'll kind of alter the board just a little bit to his preferences, but I don't think it'll change that much.
So we actually have that queued up. I mean, can we kind of elaborate a little bit? A few names have been dropped around for that wide receiver coach, and you're saying it is going to drop this week. Do you have any? We've heard some names. So if you don't want to be the guy that says it, we have a few ideas that we've been talking about. We obviously the names start flying around and everyone has an opinion. The names that were originally dropped around, like the Ike Hilliards of the world, and I think it was Jeff Scott from USF. Those names have kind of gone down, quiet down when new names have risen. Is that kind of what you think the direction that we're headed, or?
Yeah, so the Jeff Scott was kind of like a, hey, let's go get somebody that's got a huge track record. He has some sort of relationship to Billy, and he just got fired. So the logic sense there is, okay, maybe go get him. He just got fired. He will continue to collect his multi-million-dollar buyout from USF and then come work for Florida. And the logic is sound, honestly. But I don't think he was ever somebody that was going to come to Florida. He's made his way back to Clemson. He was at Clemson for years before he left. And I don't think he's somebody that may ever leave Clemson again. He's very comfortable at Clemson. And there is rumors, smoke, I don't know what you want to call it, but that if and when Nick Saban retires, that Dabo Swinney could bolt for the Alabama job, and then Jeff Scott would be probably in consideration for the Clemson job. So I don't think he would ever leave that. As far as names going on right now, there are some names that have been thrown around. I'm sure you guys have heard them. If you would like to say those names, I can let you know if they're
I'll
consideration.
Yeah. That's fair.
I won't start throwing names.
You go ahead,
around.
Shelton.
Yeah, the big name, the new name that I've been hearing and seeing on Twitter, and I did some digging to see, and it seems, I mean, again, the other names have quieted down. I think Dallas Baker was another one. That was, again, a lot of these were just fans kind of just, they were doing their own research, right? Their own scouting of what could be available, and it's fun to always look into, right? I mean, we've got nothing else to
and
do.
every time you have a situation like that, of course, former players are going to come up. Your Ike Hilliard, your Dallas
Tebow
Bakers.
gets dropped every single time. And how Tebow doesn't have a job yet is beyond me, but that's beside the point. Just go hire the entire 2006 and 2008 football team, and everybody will be happy. That's all we're asking. It's not much.
Yeah,
that's it.
Absolutely.
That's all we need. The big name right now is Phil McDonough, I believe, who was at Colorado. That's the name that I've been seeing. I think I said that probably incorrectly.
I've heard his name thrown around. When I heard his name, I did a little bit of research on him. A lot of NFL pedigree.
Yes.
Not a lot of college experience. I think he worked 3 years at USF back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Then went up to the NFL. Then came back to ECU around 2015, 2016. And then went back to the NFL again after that before now joining Deion's staff in Colorado in 2022. So we'll see how that shakes out. I've heard his name. I've heard a few other names. But his name is one that does seem to be coming up pretty often on the timeline.
And I would love, I mean, I was looking too, and the thing that I noticed is that he coached Brian Hartline in Miami along with Jarvis Landry. So if that's not a recruiting tactic, it's like, hey, the number one recruit in the country, that's my guy, okay? Without me, ain't no Brian Hartline. You know what I'm saying? So I was looking into that. I also, again, I was kind of doing some digging when that name started popping up because I did dig in on the other three guys, made a video about that, and then everything kind of went by the wayside. I was like, well, damn, I guess we're still looking. So
he did also coach Cooper Kupp at LA.
in LA,
Yes,
right?
Yes, did.
He coached
Cooper
Cooper
Kupp.
Kupp in LA.
Zay Jones as well. I saw. So
Zay Jones while he was at ECU and then also at Buffalo.
Yeah, so he's got some big names behind him.
When his name came up too, I did a little bit of research on him too. And when he was at USF, which is actually kind of funny because at USF you're not going to get like the prime targets. I mean, let's just be honest, unless Nick Saban goes there, you're not really going to get some prime targets. But he was able to recruit two guys that were like
top 200 wide receivers.
Yeah, it was insane. So I was just like, well, at least we know that like
Good
even
stuff.
at a school that doesn't recruit as well, he can still get an elite kid from like the top 250, top 150. But they also, when I kind of looked at his resume too, he doesn't. He goes like he hops a lot. Like he had a couple of jobs where like he was only there for 1 year, and usually a lot of them were college. And that kind of, if he were to come to Florida, would kind of concern me a little bit. But at the same time, you never know. Like he had a 4-year stint in the NFL, I believe, at some team, or no, it was at I can't even remember, but he had a 4-year stint somewhere and a 3-year stint somewhere else. And but a lot of it was just like 1 year here, 1 year there, and that's the only thing that may concern me if he was to come to Florida is how long is he going to stay? But at the same time, some of those guys, they come in and then maybe they had 1 year somewhere, but then they stayed 4 years somewhere else. Maybe Florida can get him to stay 3-4 years and get some mileage out of him.
Yeah, look,
You go ahead.
it's interesting. And I appreciate you know, kind of talk about that a little bit because again, I know you guys have your things you got to follow. So that was names that we heard. Back to recruiting a little bit too. Just again with the wide receiving core. Look, Jeremiah Smith's the big one. I think why that name keeps getting brought up too because he was tweeting at DJ, so it was almost like he brought himself into the conversation more than us bringing him into the conversation. And then he was coming to visit, and now it's like, yeah, I don't really care. It's like, well, why are you playing with us? You know what I mean? And look, it would be great to get him. It would be awesome to land because at one time, right, it was like DJ, top number one ranked quarterback, and however you want to look at it. Jeremiah Smith and Jarrett Gibson. It's like, my goodness, could this be the three-headed monster that Billy just says, I'm back, bitches, right? And now that's kind of starting to fall apart, not in a negative way, right? But it was this again. Sometimes stars and numbers you can get a little blinded by that. But from what our wide receivers are doing thus far in training camp, I'm not too concerned with, you know, the guys that they're able to go after. I mean, Eugene Wilson's an absolute beast. That's somebody that you talk about all the time. Andy Jean, from what we've been hearing in spring practice, is hooping. So I think I trust our team, our coach's ability to you know, recruit wide receivers. I wouldn't consider it that big of a miss. For, you know, your average fan, it sounds good to get a 5-star and the number one wide receiver, but I don't think we should hang our heads too low if he's not to choose Florida either.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, I get tired of saying this sometimes, but you're gonna have obviously 5-star. Everybody wants a 5-star. Everybody wants the top 100 prospect. Everyone wants the top 50 prospect. Your board is not the coach's board, and I know people get tired about hearing, oh well, I can go recruit a 3-star from Florida and turn him into a 5-star from Alabama or what have you, or that whole cliche of your board's not the coach's board. They can evaluate talent better than you. And while that's true, I get that fans get tired of, hey, let's take the 3-star and develop them instead of working hard to go get the 5-star. But I will say this, and I've seen this on the timeline a lot, especially today when we saw those 4 crystal balls come in for 4 different players. I don't think any of them were ranked inside the top 300 or whatever, and people were complaining, oh, we're back to this crap. I will say this, and I will say this, at this time last year, Jakeem Jackson had 8 offers. Not one of them was from, I think 2 were from a Power 5 school.
Okay.
Florida offered him in May, and guess where he ended in the rankings this year? Number 55 in the country.
Yep.
So I like I said, I get tired of saying it, but
yeah, these rankings are going to adjust.
Do those people on the timeline really think they're better talent evaluators than Corey Raymond or Billy Napier?
It's so early in the cycle.
Yes, I do.
Too.
Yes, I do.
Like you said, David, it's super early in the cycle. We're talking about, like I said, Jakeem Jackson had 8 offers. Today's March 8th. I think I went back before we jumped on tonight, and he had 8 offers. He picked up numbers 9, 10, and 11 within the next 3 or 4 days of last year. Florida didn't offer him until May. So there's a lot of time for, and at that time he was a mid-level 3-star that had really only played wide receiver, just moved over to cornerback. Corey Raymond did the evaluation, offered him as a cornerback, and the rest is history. But yeah, there's still a lot of time left. You'll have guys that are mid-level 3-stars that end up being top 100 prospects before the year's over. Now, are the 5-stars typically going to remain 5-stars from this point to the end of the year? I'd say a vast majority of them, yes, because they've been ranked or they've been scouted since they were freshmen and sophomores. But those guys that are making position changes, those guys that are kind of late to the party blooming, another example would be Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs was a top 100 prospect by the end of his cycle. He was a mid-level 3-star until, I think, week 10 of his senior season.
I love that you
there's a long way to go.
Yeah, I love that
I will say this, too. Let me say this. Isaiah Bond was one of those guys that was ranked in the 500s or 600s, I believe, in February or March of 2 years ago, that Dan Mullen's last year as the head coach. And I looked at his profile. I saw how fast he was, and I was like, dude, there's no way that this kid's going to be a 3-star by the end of the cycle. He's too fast. He's too athletic.
And he ended
winds up being the number 1 athlete in the class.
I mean, Chauncey Bowens is backing that up as well. I mean, when Chauncey Bowens originally committed, I mean, we were excited, right? 4-star running back. But now it's almost like we don't get the excitement because he's getting, he's getting poached, trying to get poached now by Georgia and Alabama. So it doesn't feel like, oh, he picked us over Bama and Georgia, but it's like, I mean, if we're hanging on to him while these guys are flying private helicopters to his high school, that's huge. I think it shows respect.
It's that typical bird in the hand situation where you'd rather have the kid committed and make somebody try and flip him than slow play the kid, wait until somebody else offers him, then push for him, and then they can tell you no and go to somebody like Georgia, Alabama, or what have you.
Sure. So, I mean, look, I want to talk, too, about kind of just the talent of being evaluated and how we're transitioning from last year to this year. You were obviously on campus last year, got to see all the guys, how the Mullen kids and those guys played. We're transitioning into a new era here. There's I think like 2 or 3 Mullen guys left. And again, I always like to preface this because I'm not trying to rag on the Mullen guys as there was any negative or anything wrong with those gentlemen. They just didn't fit the system. Plain and simple, we're moving on. But I want to get your thoughts and opinion. Obviously, you're a Gator fan, so you're going to be fired up about it. But does it feel different? And if it does, what is it that's different from last year?
Yeah, so I got the opportunity to speak with a couple people that were able to be at practice. I haven't been able to be there myself yet, unfortunately. But they spoke a lot to the organization of practice, things moving a lot faster, attention to detail. Obviously, year one under a new coaching staff, there's going to be a learning curve. You go from year 1 to year 2, and guys are just all where they're supposed to be. So last year's spring practice as opposed to this year's spring practice, even with the new guys in there and the influx of, what was it, like 30, about 30 new guys on the roster thus far. You're talking about guys that have got in there, bought in, got into the weight program, started working with their teammates before even spring practice started, so that when they get to spring ball, they already have that chemistry. Guys like Andy Jean getting on campus early, already putting on about 10 to 12 pounds,
Really?
and you see what he's doing in the practice clips on social media. One thing I will highlight, and I know everybody likes to rag on Graham Mertz, what I've been told from that young man, from the day he stepped on campus, he's in the training room every day making sure that he goes through what he needs to do. He's every day out there throwing with his wide receivers and his tight ends, working on chemistry. And now, obviously, you get to see that on video in spring practice. But the stuff that happens behind the scenes that nobody really hears about is the stuff that makes you better. And Graham Mertz has been doing that since the second he stepped on campus with guys like Caleb Douglas, Andy Jean, Ricky Pearsall, all those guys going through routes on air just to get that chemistry down. And I think the biggest thing that you have from last year to this year, and like you said, I don't want to rag on the Mullen guys. I don't want to say that there's anything wrong with those guys, but you have complete and total buy-in this year. You didn't have that from certain guys last year, and it showed up in games, in the locker room. It showed up at practice sometimes, and you're not hearing those stories anymore, at least thus far from what we've heard since the new guys got there in January.
I'm going to let you go here in a minute, Dave, because I know you have some notes from this, but I want to pull up 2 quotes. One from Austin Barber. And this quote to me really, it just kind of sets the tone for who that is. And it feels like it's a go-to line sometimes, but I will say I haven't heard it in a while, right? And it's good when you do hear it, and when you use it properly, it has a sting to it. And this is what he says. Graham Mertz puts a lot of work in. He's in the building every single day, like 24 hours. I never see him leave. When I leave, his car's still here. When I get here, his car's here. I'm happy he's putting the work in. That's like the Kobe quote and the Jordan quote, right? Like the guy that doesn't leave the damn building. And when you hear that fires you up. And like, what is Austin Barber? I mean, again, he's obviously the offensive tackle, but you don't just pull that out of left field. You know what I mean? So it's awesome hearing that and seeing the support behind him. And then Rob Sale obviously had this to say. So the kid is smart. I don't know about how ketchup would be the word anymore with how smart he is. Very, very impressed. So a lot of good things coming from that. And I guess I have Mertz Mania because the hype behind him is really starting to build. And we're going to do some projections on who we think is going to be the guy. But Dave, let's go over some notes here really quickly that you have from spring and how things are going thus far.
Yeah, spring notes, man. A couple names that have stood out here. Jakeem Jackson's one of those. He's had a couple of interceptions in the practices as well, from what I've heard.
Mid 300 ranked guy you're talking about?
Yeah, that ranked 300 guy from, like, the last cycle. Yeah,
Good,
that
good.
guy that nobody cared about that was a 3-star. Arliss Boardingham also, as well, has been making a lot of plays. He's been a quote unquote "matchup nightmare" from, what I've been told. Andy Jean also had a couple touchdowns. He's looked pretty good as well. Just overall, man, and Trevor Etienne, he squeezed out some runs as well from what I've heard. I think he had a 40-yard run in his first practice, had a couple more runs, in the second practice here. But Jack Pyburn, also, I've heard he's looked pretty good as well. I don't think he was severely rated that well. I think he was like
No,
in the 400s
from the
when
bowls,
when he was getting
yeah,
recruited.
very 3-star. Remember
Yeah,
playing with
and
a chip.
from what I've heard, Keontae Goodwin, he's been taking reps with the ones. You got Damian George, he looks good at guard. Justice Boone's had a couple of good plays off the edge there. It's only been 2 days so far, so really you're not going to get too much into the notes and really into the nuggets as far as like spring practice goes. But if you want any of the detailed notes and all that, I have to do a plug for the Gator Collective and their Gator Collective boards. They do a good job of putting the spring notes out there and getting more in depth into detail with those. And I'm pretty sure Connor Clark right there at Sports Illustrated, they got some practice notes there for you folks as well. But yeah, I mean, you're starting to see some of the guys that, Billy Napier brought along that obviously hasn't been there. I mean, we all know what Trevor Etienne can do and Montrell Johnson, but you're starting to hear names like Jakeem Jackson and some of the guys that he brought in from last class already starting to come in and make plays. And that's what you want to hear because a lot of the times last year you heard, okay, these guys are making plays, but like you didn't really hear it like right off the whim. It took a while. Like these guys are already starting to make plays in day one and day two. And I'm really curious to see like how these spring practices keep going. And obviously the spring game, we're going to see a lot from that too.
Yes.
But it's been looking way better than last year in the way that it's been trending, I guess, for the first couple of days. But obviously, as I said, there's more spring practice to go on, so we'll see what happens.
I love that. And so I want to go back to the quarterback room as well and Connor, get your kind of thoughts on this. It's way too early, but I had David Connor on. He kind of stirred the pot a little bit. I said, hey, who's going to be your dark knight? I don't know if you saw this clip or not of this upcoming season. He goes, it's going to come out of your quarterback room. And it was just like, what the hell, dude? Like, why are you stirring it up? And I'm seeing the practice, the tapes. Here's my take on it. This is my opinion on it. For me, it looks like 1, 2, 3. I'm putting Mertz, Max, Jack. That's how I'm looking at it. Now, I think Jack has the edge, obviously, of knowing the offensive better, having a couple more years under his belt than Max Brown. All I'm going off of is, again, we're talking 4 or 5 clips of just seeing these guys throw the ball. And what I know of Jack, I was huge on Jack last year. He didn't really impress me much in the ball game. I know that you can't really, hold him accountable, but something I noticed last year was a little bit of a soft touch on the ball. I felt like that was maybe just more of a practice thing. It seems to still be carrying over, and that's not going to translate well onto the field. Max Brown's out there slinging it like a ball player. I mean, he just looks good. Now, again, I'm reaching here. We're talking 4 clips. Let's not get it twisted here. But I want to get your thoughts, kind of what you're hearing. Is Mertz really kind of stepping up and taking over? Obviously, we talked about it a little bit, but he's adjusting to things well. But is he also taking control of the offense, or is it still kind of a pretty tough battle right now?
I mean, it's hard to really fully take over the number one spot two practices in. I will say, from a leadership perspective, he's done a great job. Like I told you, since he's gotten on campus, of getting guys on the field to throw for extra throwing, extra routes, extra practice, all that good stuff. You're only 2 spring practices in. I don't expect them to name a starter anytime soon.
Sure.
I quite frankly, I wouldn't even expect them to name one before fall camp starts. Do I think Mertz ends up being the starter? Yes, I do. But I know that him and Jack are going to continue to battle back and forth in the spring. Max is somebody that I think has a lot of raw potential, but he still has to get there. I think the biggest thing that's going to be the difference between maybe someone like a Jack Miller and then a Max Brown is going to be the mental side of the game.
Sure.
The staff really loves Jack Miller and his ability to comprehend what's going on, his ability to understand the offense, and Max is still working on that.
Okay.
A lot of times quarterbacks will get there, enroll early in January. Max Brown didn't get the opportunity to do that last year. So this is his first spring practice. This will be Jack Miller's second. and
Sure.
then Graham Mertz first with the program as well. So, I mean, if I had to give you an order right now that I think it'll shake out to, it would be Mertz, Miller, and then Brown.
Okay. Look, I think, obviously, me being a fan, I'm just going off of a few clips. Like I said, I'm trying to get fired up for whatever it may be. To me, right now, the quarterback's wide open, in my opinion. I would be excited to see anybody come in and take over. Max Brown, in my opinion, is the only true Billy guy. He went out and recruited Max Brown, kind of like going back to that class, a very under-the-radar quarterback. But speaking, I know Dave, our stat guy, he has some stats for Max Brown, and it kind of, that's where, can you mention some of those? Because I know that's where a lot of people look to. It's like, man, the guy was a baller in high school.
Yeah, for his career, I'm glad you brought that up because I was looking that up as we were talking about Max Brown. He's thrown for 4,416 yards in high school, but his completion rating off the charts, 71.6% completion rating, and he's averaged 17.3 yards per throw.
Now, he was throwing to Jeremiah
touchdowns.
Smith and Jackson Smith from Ohio State, but that's besides the point.
Hey, all you have to do is give a quarterback a good offensive line and some talent around him and let him know the playbook. And once he knows the playbook, who knows?
Take over. Look, you know more. Look, Connor, guys, just so we're clear, Connor knows more than me. Okay, I'm not claiming anything. I bring the spice in here. That's Hollywood Connor, guys. Don't get this twisted. So, look, I love your take on it. Again, I think, and two, like, I mean, you guys, I'm obviously going to take the Hail Mary here and say, hey, here's my thought on it. Again, I would love for Graham to come in and just take over the position. I feel like that's obviously what he was brought in to do. I did read where he wasn't promised the job; he has to earn it, and I think he's doing that right. You know, the logistics of coming in on time, grinding, getting to know the team, and building that. Look, like you said, Jack has that ability coming in his second year, and you spoke to the organization this year versus last year, and this is, again, we talk about it a lot. Everyone's like 6-7, we suck. You and I had a conversation shortly after the season. We're like, look, the expectations, we weren't really too concerned with that. The recruiting class hurt a little bit. But again, people don't understand coming in and trying to establish an entire process, get everything locked and loaded, right? Takes a lot of work. We're going through our second rhythm through this. It's going to change a lot of things. And I kind of want to translate a little bit as well, too, to the NFL. The noise with Anthony Richardson has been insane with what he did at the Combine. And there's obviously the conversation of Florida's going to, obviously Florida's claiming him now. Some of us may have not claimed him during the season, but we're definitely claiming him now because it's excited to claim him. But Holly, obviously FSU fan, he's like, how do you think Florida's going to feel when he goes to the NFL and balls out? You feel like you're going to miss out on one? I don't want to give you my thoughts. I honestly would love to get your two guys' opinion. I haven't spoken to David about this. Do you feel like we missed out on one, or is there a caveat here that we're missing?
Hollywood goes first, man.
We're sticking with that. Okay. No, yeah. I mean, there's always going to be this aura or this thought that, hey, man, he showed flashes of Heisman potential. So him going 6-6 as a starter, 6-7 in his career as a starter, is tough. Do I think that he could have been much more than what he was? Yes. The raw athletic ability was there. I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of experience. Because his only start last year was he was thrown to the Wolves against the number one defense in probably the last 10 years in college football. And I think that was Mullen's FU to the fan base of like, hey, fine, you want me to start him? Here you go. And just throw him to the Wolves. And I don't think that did him any favors. And do I think he could have been better? Yes, I do. He had some growing pains in his first year as a starter, like every first-year starter typically does. And unfortunately, because of that raw athletic ability that he possesses and the fact that this year's quarterback class in the NFL draft is not great, it was the smartest move for him in his future to leave this year and go make money in the NFL. Because you talk about next year's quarterback class, you're competing with Caleb Williams, Drake May. I couldn't even list off the guys, but it's a lot deeper quarterback class than it is this year. So as far as a business decision for Anthony Richardson, smartest move was for him to leave this year.
I spoke to that
as
too,
a fan.
Go ahead.
As a fan, do you get this kind of what could have been feeling? Absolutely, because if he comes back for another year after 1 year as a starter under his belt, you're talking about preseason Heisman hype, and I think he would be much more comfortable and much more acclimated to what he needs to do as a starter. That he would have a much better season this year. Um, so yes, there's always going to be this aura of what could have been, especially if he goes and balls out in the NFL. But
Sure.
to to see him succeed in the NFL is 100% what I want to see happen for him. I don't have this, hey, he didn't do well at Florida, so if he succeeds in the NFL, I'm going to be upset about it
Sure.
because he should have done that at Florida. Like I'll never ever look at a kid that way. Maybe the old me as a young kid, as like a diehard like hardcore fan would be like, well, he didn't do anything for Florida, so I don't want him to do anything in the NFL.
That was last
And I
year
see
for
a
me.
lot of fans that are I see a lot of fans that are still like that. But I've luckily enough being able to do what I've done has kind of given me a different perspective on things. And not that Anthony is one of those players that I would need a different perspective on. I've known the young man since he was 16 years old. So to me, it's a little bit more personal. I have a personal relationship with him, and I just want him to be extremely successful. Whether it was at Florida, whether it was at another school, if he had chosen to transfer after this year, or whether it be in the NFL, which I hopefully it now is. I just want to see the young man succeed. But yes, to answer your question, in in way too long-winded an answer, there is going to be that aura of what could have been.
And I think that a part too, what you said, like you've noticed that you're 16, that's a big part of being able to interview these guys and have conversations. Our entire opinion about this changes. It's hard to have a normal, just fanatic reaction anymore because now they're like, we know these guys. Like, we don't want to hate on them. We want them to have to be successful. So it is it's much different than before. And Holly's kind of talking about this quarterback class being a solid quarterback class. However, I do believe with Caleb Williams and Drake May coming out in that next class, I believe if they were all to come out in this class together, I feel that the Will Levis's, Anthony, maybe Bryce Young, their value would go down a little bit because they would be being compared to these other two guys, and they would notice the tier level of like, wow, it's not as close as we may think it is. I think these guys coming out together, it's like the cheerleader effect, is beneficial for all of them because they're just compared to one another versus what they could be being compared to. Again, not a knock towards this class. I just don't think people realize how good Caleb Williams actually is. And if he were to come out, it'd be like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. For the fact that it's being tossed around who could be number one tells you that it's not as set in stone and the level of quality is that much higher. Even though CJ and Bryce had a better college career, I think what Anthony was able to do in the draft and, like you said, the what if, because there's such limited film on him, it almost, again, I've been saying this, it benefits him, the lack of film that he does have, honestly. A great question for Mr. Nobody says, what are the odds that we sign another quarterback in the portal? That's obviously been something that Billy mentioned early on. I think his very first press conference back from everything. Do we have anything else on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously there's going to be people that enter the portal after spring ball. Billy's been very vocal and not shy about saying, hey, we want to add another one through the portal. I would expect it to be somebody with multiple years of eligibility, probably somebody that just finished up their sophomore year or something like that. You don't want to go get another guy that's got 1 year of eligibility because it's going to be, one, really hard to get somebody like that to come over if you know that Graham Mertz is kind of going to be the guy. But you also don't want to get somebody that maybe just got on campus because we're seeing that kind of trend now with the way the transfer portal is, that if somebody doesn't like the way things are going during spring ball and their first spring early enrolling at a school, they transfer. So I mean, we'll see how that shakes out. I would expect it to be somebody with probably 2 to 3 years of eligibility left. Do I think it's going to be a big name person? No, I think it's just going to be a depth addition. Unless for whatever reason some big name quarterback hits the portal and Billy goes, hey, that's my guy.
Sure.
And then you fight it out in fall. But I think it'll be more of a depth piece.
Dave?
Yeah, and also, like, if a big name comes in the portal, you're going to be fighting other schools for that kid as well. So it's like, if you already know who your established starter is and you know who a viable backup that you have on the team, do you really want to go after somebody that is a big name, or it's a very weird. We don't even know who's going to be in there and it comes to spring, so it's kind of a weird situation. But at least there's going to be another quarterback taken in the spring portal period if they see a viable guy that's in there. But yeah, as Connor said, man, I would definitely go after somebody with like 2-3 years at least. You don't want to bring somebody in that like has 1 year, thinks he can start, because then what are you doing to your quarterback room at that point? you know.
No, absolutely. And again, I think that's kind of the thing too. I think a lot of people are thinking we're going to go get to a big splash transfer. It's more a depth thing. I think when Billy keeps saying, "Hey, I want more," I think obviously he evaluated 24 quarterbacks and Graham was his guy. I
will say this: you might be able to pick up like a former 4 or 5 star that was in like maybe the 2020 class or something like that, and he's got the talent. You just got to have him learn your system. So I mean, you could take a good one. You could take a good viable backup.
Convince him to compete with DJ Lagway when he gets on campus.
Right.
Yeah, that's a part people are missing out on, is like they see what's coming in and it's like, why go there right now? You know what I mean? So it's hard for us to get a young guy that's kind of up and coming because it's like that job doesn't even exist for you right now. How much time you got, Connor? You got to go, or you good to go, or?
No, you're good.
Hanging out real quick. I do want to give a shout out. We are sponsored by Manscaped. For this episode, you guys can use the code HIGHTOP for 20% off. We actually have it right here. And look, I'm pumped to promote this because obviously I have a raggedy ass beard. You two gentlemen have beautiful, wonderful beards. And I got this thing, and it has a little I cleaned it off, but it has a thing you throw on the top here. It's got a guard, and it has from 0 to 10, and you just flip it over. And I have no clue what I'm doing. Again, my raggedy ass beard. I just flipped it over to 7 and just trimmed her up, bro. So I love this damn thing. Steve got one as well, so we'll get his opinion on it a little bit later on. But again, you get 20% off right now with the promo code HIGHTOP. So help us out, show some love there. If you guys been hesitant on shaving up your raggedy ass beards, go check that thing out because it is sick. And kind of just to read their thing, they're once again revolutionizing because it's brand new. This is, I think, in January. Even Dave was telling me he's got the lawnmower 4.0, which we'll get into. Yes, but that's a different part of that's a different hair style there. But they're once again revolutionizing men's grooming with brand new beard hedger. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind the beard hedger allows you to shape your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using the code HIGHTOP for 20% off and free shipping. So I got here fairly quick. Again, it's high quality, feels awesome. Again, I like to partner with companies that go with us and with that something I support. And again, I'm always trying to find a nice trimmer to trim the beard up, and I'm pretty jazzed up about this one. I even got a nice little kit to put it in. So I'm not saying I'm flashy and everything.
I didn't even know they had a beard trimmer. I'm still back on the 3.0, the lawnmower 3.0.
Well, I got the lawnmower 4.0, and this is obviously the beard trimmer. So if you want to use the code HIGHTOP, Connor, use a little TLC on the beard. So I love it. Super chat real quick from Gator versus Anybody says $5. Thank you, Hunter. Says, what do you guys think about the multiple walk-on quarterbacks we have taken as well? David, you want to take it first?
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
David?
Yeah, I think some of the walk-ons they've been taking, like, they have talent. Like some of them
dogs.
run like 4.4s and 4.5s, and like it's crazy. Like when you go and you look at like how they have the walk-on tryouts every year, and sometimes obviously they give some of them a scholarship towards the end of the year. They do the videos for them and all that. When you kind of look at like some of the walk-ons though that Florida has brought in, they're actually very talented. And I think like even the process that they use in high school recruiting for the kids that come to college, they also use for like the walk-ons that come to the University of Florida. So they just don't evaluate high school kids. They evaluate these walk-ons too. And I'm actually like, I think it wasn't Bowman, not DeMarcus Bowman, but the other Bowman, I just can't say his first name. Wasn't he a walk-on and they gave him a scholarship? Connor?
Running back?
Am I not correct?
Or not?
No, he's a wide receiver.
Ty Bowman, the wide receiver?
Yeah, Ty Bowman.
Yeah, I think he came in initially as a walk-on. I think he's on scholarship now, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, and he's fast. Like he's got speed. So like that, I think the way that they're approaching the walk-ons and who they're bringing in is very like down in depth, and that's what I like about it is, even if you have a lot of injuries at a position, your walk-on might be skidding down the field too.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the walk-on program under Billy Napier, the second he stepped on campus, he said, "Hey, the walk-on program is going to be the lifeblood of our program, and we're going to make sure that that is prioritized." He's followed up with that. I mean, if you want to talk about just quarterbacks for this year's walk-on class, you talk about Parker Lease, who came from IMG Academy. He's actually already on campus. You
Yeah.
never hear of walk-ons enrolling early. He had scholarship offers from Butler, Kansas, Miami of Ohio, Brown. So he turned down all those scholarship offers to come walk on at the University of Florida.
Isn't Brown an Ivy League
The
school?
other Brown is an Ivy League school.
What the hell,
Yes.
bro?
Yeah.
This guy got that
You've got
dog in
another walk-on quarterback in Jordan Guile from Tennessee. Another guy, offer from FIU, offer from Kansas, offer from Missouri Western State. Like, they're not huge schools, but Kansas is a P5. FIU's a G5 in the state of Florida. So you're getting kids that typically when you think of preferred walk-ons, you think of walk-ons. It's like, okay, guys that nobody wanted, and you're just giving them a chance. They're going out and getting guys that have offers from other programs. One that I'm actually super high on that's been on campus, they took him last year, is Bryce Capers from Jacksonville. He's in that Jack linebacker room. He had scholarship offers from Liberty, FIU, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, coming out of high school, and he chose to walk on at Florida. And he's somebody that I think, while he may not be at the top of that Jack room right now, he certainly looks the part walking off the bus, walking onto the practice field, and as somebody that I think definitely in the lesser games, but could possibly see action this year, even in some significant playing time.
What's interesting about that, because with the world of transfer portal, somebody like that would go to a small school like FAU before and then end up transferring anyways because they have great success. And again, they looked apart, they figured things out. Maybe they played at a smaller school or whatever it may be, didn't come out with all the offers. So look, maybe Billy's getting 2 or 3 years ahead of that. And again, these things we won't see right away. So that is interesting to point out of, hey, like the guys that we're getting on, it's not just kind of like they go to school there and they're like, hey, is it cool if I come on? Right? Like they're pulling guys that have actual offers like, hey, you're going to earn an opportunity here and rock and roll. I had Javion Toombs on just the other day. We were supposed to play Madden, but I dropped the ball. He's a walk-on as well. He's playing, I think, cornerback, but he played linebacker in high school, he said. Obviously, he's a little bit smaller to play linebacker. So he's taken on a whole new position. I mean, he didn't play that. He's like, yeah, it's a lot different, right? I mean, in the middle linebacker position, more of a quarterback, what's more angles. He's like, I got to get my hips around a lot faster when I'm playing cornerback. So somebody like that who's that athletic to make that adjustment shows that he has what it takes. And, I mean, he's hungry. He's got himself a little bit of rhythm. We talked about his consistency and his schedule. So great guys. Again, everyone I spoke to, again, still fits into this same just culture and mindset of bought in. And I'm going to show a video here in just a minute. You're going to get knocked off the screen, Connor. I didn't have it prepped for 3 ways here. It's going to show this interview. That's not – I'll kick David out. You're right. That's my fault. Sorry, David. I got Hollywood on the screen.
I was about to say, how are you going to take Hollywood out, man?
I set it up.
Relax.
I set it up for David. But I want to show the clip because it's Rob Sale talking about the offensive line. And then he's going through and talking about each individual. He's talking about Micah Mazuka and just kind of how he's digesting things. Damian George, these new guys coming in. And so I want to show that, and then we'll go from there. Cool? Sorry. Bye, Connor. Hey, guys, before we show this clip, make sure you guys drop a like at almost 180 in here. So appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. So show some love. All right.
What are kind of some of the differences and similarities between Micah and Osiris?
Micah's a very, it's kind of like Sabo when it comes to, you can teach a concept one time and he has it. You know, some guys got to take notes, write it down, do a walkthrough. Micah kind of just looks at you and go, all right, do you think, do you got it or not? You know, he's like, oh, I got it. And he goes out there and sure enough, he gets it. So football comes easy to him, like Osiris. But they're different in their movement skills. And so that's different, but he's a good football player. I can tell you that right now after day 2.
How much more on Austin Barber's plate making that jump to left tackle, and how much have you seen him grow in the last year?
For this time being in spring, he get beat, head down, body language, get up, head up, eyes up, go the next play. So him as a person and as a football player has gotten so much better, but he is night and day from where he was this time last year, I would say. But you sign a bunch of Austin Barbers around here, and you're going to have a good football team.
Damian George, is he going to move inside? You play him outside? Because I know he played some inside when he was at Alabama.
He'll stay outside for us. We got inside guys, but right now, obviously we signed him for tackle, and we need depth there as well. So he'll stay out there. But we got some really, really good young inside guys that we're very happy with.
Who are some of those guys, or who are some of the people you'll get at the guard spots other than Micah?
Richie Leonard's right now is obviously going with the ones. He's a very good football player, instinctive. You got Najee Harris at right guard with the twos right now currently.
Love
you
that.
Got Christian Williams. You got Jalen Farmer, who's currently.
All right, so what I want to go over, he kind of just rips off a few names here and then gets kind of lost in the sauce with the names. But I want to mention something. Again, this is kind of me. I mentioned this before on the cast. I come from a background of sales, so that's where I come in, is more of a personality style of person. And these are things that, again, I say this all the time. Stars don't measure that. Rankings don't measure these things. When he's talking about these individuals, and I can see it in his eyes, because it's the same way if you ask him about one of my reps. When you like somebody a lot, you got a lot of good things to say about them. I got guys I don't like, and I got a lot of fresh things to say about them as well. But you find a place that when you get excited to talk about that individual because of what they're doing, and each person that he's talking about, you can feel a connection. You feel like you're almost there on the field with him, describing who these young men are and what they're doing and what they're bringing. To me, for an O-line coach / offensive coordinator, to have this much, and again, I know he's with them every single day, but to have this much passion in them, and you can feel the same narrative, the same way they talk about each other, right? From one player to another player, how they describe what somebody's doing. You feel it. You feel it coming from the top, right? You feel that energy of like, we're all here, we're one, we're bought in. This guy's great, and it's always pumping up the next guy. When I ask them about themselves, they're all pretty humble and chill about it. But when I ask them about their teammates, their players, my goodness, they could go on forever. And again, you can see why, because just what we saw with Rob Sell, obviously that's the top of the pyramid. That's just kind of the culture they're building. And it's something, it's so small. It's so small that you're not going to notice it right away. But when you understand building a foundation and a company, a family, as you should say, you understand where it starts. And when you start to see it, carry through everybody, it shows that there's a really good foundation there that it's starting to grow. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah, when it comes to like team chemistry though, too, man, I've interviewed a lot of these players through Gator Collective, and when I had them on my podcast, Getting Swamp, back in the day, they would talk about how there's more team chemistry, but like you heard, obviously we've seen there was kids kicked off the team during the year, obviously for good reasons, and you could still see that it was kind of lingering there, obviously with the transfer portal and the way that the kids transferred out, but you could kind of see it was still lingering there. But kids were trying, like they were trying to be bought in, and I think a lot of those kids that did transfer tried to buy into everything, and just when you're around a coach for so long that does not preach that, it kind of gets etched in your brain. And I think some of those kids were trying to be on the same pace as Billy Napier, but now you've got a whole completely different roster because of all the transfers out here. And it's really cool to see. Like, it's really cool to see the relationships with the coaches. He talks about Austin Barber's head being down the first year in practice because he was getting beat. And then now it's like, hey, heads up, completely different approach. You're starting to see these kids come around. A lot of the kids that stayed and didn't go into the portal, they're starting to come around as well. And it's just something really good to see. And of course, obviously, listening to Rob Sale talk is obviously awesome too, but it's just really like a good moment and a good omen for Florida, because a lot of kids play a lot better when they're all on the same page and they're all playing for each other as opposed to playing for everybody else and just themselves.
We were talking to precast. Rob Sale is a way better interview than Coach Billy. I mean, look, I got nothing against Billy Ballsack, y'all know that, but my man is as dry as a dry erase board when it comes to interviews. My goodness, just give me something. You know what I mean? But Rob Sale, he got a little flavor to it. Mark Hawk, that's my guy, bro. Like if we get Mark Hawk on here, that's all I want. I just want to hang out with that guy for a day. I want that guy to put me through the ringer. I want to go to the gym with that guy and him just wear my asshole out. Not that way. Not that. I realized when I said it, not like that. I meant like working out. I meant like working out. I mean, like working out. I meant like, I'm tired where I'm just sweat. You know what? I'm gonna pass it over to you, Connor.
Are we clipping that?
No, I hope not. I hope not. I hope not. I was rambling. That doesn't count. That didn't. Go ahead, Connor.
Go ahead, Connor.
I really don't have much else to say.
Oh, now
past
he's
what
done.
you guys said. I don't know. I don't know how I can follow that statement.
It wasn't me. It was him.
No, but no, you guys touched on it really well, man. And I think the key thing that you have to understand with offensive line is based off of Rob Sale's hat that he was wearing in that video.
Yep.
It's 5=1. You have to be one unit. You have to have one common goal, one mentality, one mindset. It's just you have to work together, and if one guy makes a mistake, your quarterback's on the ground or worse. So I mean, it's just super important to have that chemistry that you guys spoke about. And other than that, I can't really say anything any better than you guys did. So I won't do anything.
That's fucked up, Connor. You're gonna just leave me out there to die like that. You couldn't even like take it and like run with it and like change. Like the comment section is just exploding now. Holly's like Shelton touched on it really well. No, I didn't. Okay, Connor, I did not. All right, so this is you guys just left me out there. I mean, I saw you love, I show you appreciation, and then you just run me over. That's where we're at. Okay.
Quit showing your ass, man.
Well, a certain
Fair
part
enough.
of it anyways.
Well, Connor, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on here as always. Dave and I are massive fans. I'm not just saying that to hype you up. Like, I genuinely appreciate you coming on here. Like I said, you're one of the first guys that came on the show. Met you at Friday Night Lights. Great guy. Then saw you at the first Utah game. Hopped on the show. No problemo. So
Man,
I love.
My parents thought that was amazing, by the way.
They're excited. I was excited.
Walking down there with my parents and my wife, and my dad's looking at me like, "What the heck is going on here?"
That's cool.
You have people just asking you to come on to a TV show. I was like, "Dad, it's not a TV show. Let's relax."
He goes, Dad, it's Mr. Hollywood to you. Okay, so make sure you wreck yourself.
No, relax. We're not going there.
Just kidding.
Did somebody have an over/under on how many times the term Hollywood would be used during this episode? Because I definitely think we hit the over tonight.
Yeah,
I saw your boys giving you shit, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm taking it. I love it. I don't know what it means, but I'm here for it. So I love a good nickname, good or bad. I don't know behind backstory, but whether it's good or bad, it's still fun.
Nothing bad about it.
Still good fun. But look, man, I appreciate you. Like I enjoy the relationship that we've been able to build through Gator football. So it's been a blast. Are you going to be at the Orange and Blue game?
I will not. I cannot, unfortunately, not make it on a Thursday evening.
Okay. All right. Friday Night Lights, though. We is it a date?
Yeah, definitely there. They haven't released a date. Typically, it's towards the end of July every year. Usually that last Friday in July. But
hopefully, I get an media pass this year, so I don't get kicked out.
Yeah, when it goes live or when they announce it, I'll certainly make the plans to be there. So.
Well, Connor, make sure you plug yourself. Tell them where they can find you. Is it at Hollywood? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, we only got a half one there. So if the number was at 3.5, it's a plus.
That's what I was doing. I had to get it over the top.
Always, man. It's a pleasure to come on and join your show. Pleasant surprise to see Dave on here. I didn't realize you'd stop doing the Getting Swamp, so.
He's joined the family. We brought him over to the dark side.
I see that, man. I see that. That's awesome. Two of my favorite podcasters chopping it up with me, so I certainly enjoy it. But yeah, so sorry, I got off on a little tangent, but you can follow me on Twitter at Connor Clarke. That's ConnerClarke. People always like to spell my name wrong, so I have to throw that in there.
I did.
And then writing for I guess the official name is Fan Nation for all Gators. That'll be with Zach Goodall, Brandon Carroll, and John Garcia is helping us out now as well. Just an awesome group of guys, fantastic group of people. If you don't follow them and you follow me, please do so and go follow them. They are an awesome group of guys that do a fantastic job, and they allow me to continue to do what I enjoy doing, and that's being able to have the platform to come on here and talk with you guys, being able to go to camps, being able to go to events like Friday Night Lights and just enjoy football. So other than that, man, like I said, I appreciate you guys for having me on here tonight. Always a pleasure to chop up about Gator football. And then I just have one question, Shelton. What is it going to take for one of your favorite guests to get a High Top Sports ad?
Say less, fam. It's on the way. Drop me that. Drop me the Addy in the DMs. What color do you want?
Sounds
Orange or
good,
blue?
Man. Oh man, so many options.
I'm sorry. No. It's black. It's black or blue. Black or blue. So it's this one or
black or blue.
It's this one.
You know what? I'll probably go with a black one.
It's simple.
Probably go with a black one.
I got you.
Keep it simple. You can wear it with everything.
We've only got like four or five total left. So you're down to the wire. So it's on its way. Shoot me the Addy. I'll get it to you, Bubba, because you're appreciate the support, man. It means a lot. So thanks a lot.
No, of course, man. Like I said, I appreciate you guys always being willing to have me on, and it's always a good time. So
you're always welcome on here, man. You can have my spot.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I don't know how well that would work, but wouldn't be as controversial comments being spoken throughout the
Nothing
episode.
About
that's
that.
for sure.
Fair enough. No sweaty, no assholes getting wore out, huh? Just none of that. None of that. Connor,
None of that Manscaped stuff, man.
I appreciate you as always, man.
Lose the Manscaped sponsorship for sure.
Please send me your address. I'll get it to you as soon as possible, man. I appreciate you.
Certainly do that, man. No, thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Connor. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yes, sir.
Of course, we've shared interviews before many times in the past.
Yes.
So once again, thank you for joining us on High Top Sports.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Let's bring in the
Oh, snap.
Oh, Lord. All right, guys, that's a good show.
My goodness. I leave
our
you two to your own devices for 1 hour.
Oh.
And I can't even find more one-liners that are better than what just came out of this thing in the last 20 minutes.
We almost made it through clean, boys, but we were not clean. We're not clean anymore. So, well, boys and girls, we are bringing Holly on. Dave, this is where we give our kisses and our goodbyes. Pleasure as always, Bubba, having you on here. The show goes on, though. Steve's going to bring in some flavor, some pizzazz, and something. I don't know what he's bringing. He's bringing something. But Dave,
I don't bring anything. Dave.
Love you, Bubba. Good chat today. Good show. Connor was awesome. What do you think?
Good show. Yeah, good show, man. It's always a good time when Connor Clark's on. As I said, I've interviewed him many times in the past. He's one of my best buddies out there on Twitter. And have fun, Holly, with him talking about his ass workout.
Guys, come on. We're moving on. We are moving on.
Luckily for me, I have experience with his ass, so this won't be a difficult transition at all.
What are we doing? All right, guys, in the link in the description, link is to Manscaped, but also to our High Top website where you can get the hottest, freshest merch out there. But also, too, Dave has started writing incredible articles for us, all things Gator football. So check out those links and his articles; they are incredible. If you get tired of hearing them, you can go listen to them. So, Dave, love you. See you on the flippity flop, big guy.
See you.
All right, boys, let's do it. Right, cheer. Dave, get out of here. Boys and girls, ladies and gents, it's showtime. FS Fanatics just says never go full Discord. We're close to that. We're extremely close to that.
So we were borderline full Discord right there. We were either going to scare away people on the chat or people on the actual stream. So look, I love the fact that you're so good at this now, Shelton, that you can ride that line. You ride that line so well.
We're really sitting this, aren't we? We're really just. Well, look, this works out. So I don't know if you guys know, but last week we talked about the Selena Gomez versus Team Haley situation. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we are no longer a sports channel. We are the new Team Z, okay? Because we clipped that video, and it resulted in 4 million views on TikTok. Team Selena is a movement, boys, okay? And I know we got a lot of flack last time in the chat. I'd like some apologies for that, okay? With that being said, okay, we figured why talk sports anymore? Nobody cares about that, clearly, okay? Because yeah, we do have some sports conversations. But there's something that we talk about all the time. I mean, just guys in general, all right? Pete Davidson. This guy constantly outkicks his coverage. And I was looking at the women that he's been with. Let me just go over the list here really quickly. You may or may not know all of them, okay? I actually have it here so you can see the list here of what we're working with here. Oh, Steve, I got to add you here. Hold on, buddy. Here's the list really quick. Cassie David. Let's just take a quick look at Cassie David, okay? Your typical kind of like maybe emo-ish, chill kind of girl, cute girl. Great, whatever. Is that his style? No, because he lands Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande is like the most popular girl in school. Do you see yourself with her? No, because not me. She's a little too tiny for me, but I mean, she's gorgeous. She's beautiful. It's like, how does Pete Davidson go from that to this, right? Then we get Kate Beckinsale. She's kind of like your smoke show, right? She's kind of like the dirty slut in high school that wasn't the most popular girl, but she was a smoke show that everybody wanted to be with. You're like, yo, that bitch is fine, but nobody has the balls to go talk to her because she's a sophomore dating a freshman in college, right? That's Kate. So now we've got 3 levels here that Pete Davidson's working. Then we get Margaret Qualley, no clue who this is. This is the girl that moved in from different high schools out of California that nobody knows, the quiet girl that colors in her poem book all day long, right? Lands
New
that
girl.
one. We're talking range right here, right? Then we get Kaya Gerber, don't know who that is. Oliver O'Brien, he lands a redhead. At this point, boys, he's hit the bottom to the top to the where we headed. I mean, he's landing redheads at this point. And then obviously, don't know who that is, but then obviously Kim K. Basically the ultimate alpha in women. All right? And I was wondering, right? How does he do this? Okay? He's funny. Sure. He's not that funny. All right?
Not that funny.
He's not that
He's
funny.
ugly as hell.
He's ugly as hell.
Let's just be a guy. He's ugly as hell.
We can all comment on that. This guy has to be packing. It's just, that's the only thing there is. I mean, he has to be carrying just absolute wood. Okay? And the second
think that
thing
actually came out, just for the record. I think
Ariana Grande threw him a bone after he threw her.
No. Kanye West went out on a talk show or something with I don't know, like some radio show, and was all pissed off at the guy who runs the radio show. Like why are you promoting Kim and this dude? You all know that he's out there just with a log. So this guy's just walking around.
So he's got
Hollywood
promo from Ariana Grande and Kanye of having a schlong. The other thing that he's got going for him is he's using Manscaped, okay? The guy's absolutely just buttered up in Manscaped, okay? Steve and I now bought into Manscaped, realizing what Pete Davidson is doing, okay? And we got the Lawnmower 4000. So clearly the guy is out there rocking just an absolute clean-shaven rocking and rolling. I use this thing. Let's go over this real quick. I used this thing the other night, okay? Steve, I let the bad boy grow out for the last month when we knew that we were going to get this, okay? And I'll let you go to tell your story about your 70s porn bush in just a minute here. Boys, I took this thing on. It comes with guards. I didn't put the guard on because I didn't know it came with a guard. I literally just pulled it out of the bag and started going to town on it, okay? I got into crevices that I didn't even know it existed, okay? I was pulling dimes out of my ass crack of how deep I was getting with this thing, all right, first of all. My credit score went up 5 points when I used this, all right? That's how clean-shaven I went. Not to mention, we get this, you got this, and then we got ball conditioner. Ball conditioner and ball cologne to go along with it. Bro, I came out the shower, I patted him up a little ball conditioner. I ran a 4.5 afterwards. It's 9:45 at night, and I hauled ass down the street. Ran a 4.5. Credit score went up 5 points. I ran a 4.5.
You weren't even trying to run. I heard about this. Your wife called me and said, I can't get him to stop running. He's literally running down the street. He doesn't want to be running. It's just your ball conditioner just took over, and just off you went.
And look, I know we also have some women in here that watch. You should buy this for your husband, because my wife watched. She's like, I got to see this go down, and she was amazed. She was amazed. It was unbelievable. Yeah, so see what Pete Davidson's been able to pull with his Manscaped subscription. What are we doing here, boys?
Look, the way that I look at this is whether you know who Pete Davidson is or not. The one thing I can tell any guy who's watching this show, if you have an adolescent son, you teach right now, you Pete Davidson, you teach your kid, you bow down to our king. That man has done more things. We talk a lot about talent on this channel. Pete Davidson has more talent on his roster than any coach that we have ever talked about in the history of high top sports.
That guy can
I just want to
recruit.
put that out there. That man can recruit like nothing else. And the only way that he's doing it is because he's clearly using the Manscaped high top code. So look, I got this thing, like, you and I got the introduction package, and look, there were so many options. There were so many things. Look, I'm a 45-year-old man. I got hair coming out of places that I never wanted to have hair. They've got the nose hair trimmer. I took care of that before I got on this thing. Look, that's not something that you're going to see, but my gosh,
I don't have that problem.
Where as soon as you kind of tilt your head back, you're like, everything in here is disgusting. Clean that up, and then I look. You know what bothers me the most about like having a little bit of facial hair are those little tiny prickles right here that grow and then just stab the hell out of your nostrils.
Sure.
I got that. I got the trimmer. Got that thing. It right there in the creases. Took care of it right away. That, my gosh, the product is so good. The quality amazing.
The quality is fire.
It's insane.
So
boxers, a t-shirt. You can't go wrong.
If you guys don't know, obviously the support for today's show is brought to you by Manscaped. Who's the best men's below-the-waist grooming? Manscaped offers precision and engineered tools for your family jewels. Okay, Manscaped recently launched the Ultimate Men's Hygiene Bundle. The Performance Package joined over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off, boys, and free worldwide shipping with the code HIGHTOP at manscaped.com. Again, great stuff. We wouldn't promote it if we didn't believe it.
I believe
my
it.
balls
not
feel
just
amazing.
20% off, boys.
You get ball cologne.
Saving your boys.
You get ball cologne. Like, that to me was massive. Ball cologne and ball conditioner, what to me was the game changer. I was like, this is unbelievable. It's like a spa day for your balls.
It really is. And it could be anytime you want it.
It's incredible.
You just hop in there, you take care of business, and my gosh.
These guys are like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Boys,
look, hey, it's all guys here. Let's be honest for a second with ourselves. Like, nobody wants to go down into man land and like really take care of business. And like the other thing is, even the wife said to me, they don't make stuff for guys like that. Like, women have like, a million things. They've got like different conditioners and they got different tools and all kinds of things to take care of something that's not even on the outside.
But Holly, we were trying to talk. Holly, we were trying to talk about cooter.
This is good.
Holly, we were trying to talk about cooter management 101.
No, not now. No, I'm talking about.
This is great.
About what's on the outside, baby. Let's go.
This is great. All right, boys, let's talk football now. So it's enough ball talk.
Let's get back into it.
I love it. All right, so I don't know if you guys saw this, but Sarkisian came out and said that Arch and Quinn are in a battle for QB1. So I took a second. I saw this and I go, that's an interesting, thing to come out and say week one. And here's why I think it's interesting, because I feel like Quinn did a great job of earning his position last year. I think when he was off the field, you noticed. And when he came on the field, you noticed. And you have somebody who had a perfect score coming out of high school. You have another guy coming in with a perfect score. We talked about this being a controversial quarterback room, how you land both number one quarterbacks in back-to-back classes and now possibly back-to-back running back classes. I don't know what Sarkisian's doing, but it's working. But for him to come out and say that, I was like, is it a Saban-esque move? Right? A typical Saban comment where it's like, yeah, they're battling for it, just to kind of like stir shit up and just leave it out there, right? Where it's like nobody earns the job, but deep down, everyone knows and Quinn knows it's my job to lose kind of thing. Or is it really his job to win? And I thought about it. I was like, well, maybe. I mean, think about it. Quinn is only a sophomore, a true sophomore. So for Arch to come in and possibly win the job, it's not that crazy, right? And we kind of talked about this early on. Arch, the chance for Arch to step in they're going to be insane if Quinn starts to have a rough time. I'm bought in on Quinn, even though he shaved off his mullet. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next year, because whoever wins the job, I see one of these guys leaving. I could be wrong. I just don't see either one of these guys spending a year on the bench. Quinn's not going to spend his junior year, and Arch is hell for sure not going to spend a sophomore year on the bench if he feels he should be playing. So, what do you think? Is it Sarkisian? You kind of just putting smoke out there, or do you really feel it's a 1v1 here?
Well, look, I mean, so one, Ewers is already transferred without a medical issue, so he can't transfer again. He's gonna have to stick with whatever
Who?
Sarkisian goes with. Ewers, he transferred from Ohio State.
Oh shit, you're right.
He can't go to. He can't make a second transfer just because he doesn't like the situation. So
hold on. But that was so. Okay, so that first year I forgot he did. He left his senior year of high school to go to Ohio State to collect a bag. But was he actually a college student? Because I don't think he played. So he was a redshirt. He was a redshirt freshman. That is a weird thing. Okay, I forgot about that. That is interesting.
He was a redshirt freshman. He was absolutely on the Ohio State roster as a redshirt freshman. He transferred to Texas, so he is a redshirt sophomore this year. He was a freshman last year, starting the season for them. But he can't just outright. You can't just keep transferring. That the NIL and all the new rules don't work that way.
Yeah, you're right. That's huge. Okay, so Sarkisian's playing chess. I know you're right, but I wonder if there's a loophole because I know when he went to Ohio State, he only went to Ohio State so he could collect on NIL money as a senior in high school. And I know he played on the team.
What stops you from going to any school and getting NIL money and then wanting to transfer?
No, I agree. But he was the number one quarterback with the perfect rating. It seemed like there was a more enticing reason to go. I just don't remember him being like an actual student enrolled. I remember when we talked about him. It was a very weird situation. I don't remember. Keep.
I mean, we actually, you know what? Think about this. Go way back to when we first started this channel when it was BDE.
Yeah.
We actually played film of him in the Ohio State practices.
Yes, you're not wrong.
So he was absolutely on the roster, and he transferred to Texas, and he played his first year.
So they have him as a class. So he's a redshirt freshman, and they have him in the class.
He's a redshirt sophomore. Yeah, last year.
Okay,
and now he's a redshirt sophomore.
Okay, so that first year
I don't know if he can just keep transferring around.
Yeah, it shows he was committed to 2020 to Ohio State for 2021 class. So, yeah, I guess because he was – but here's the thing, though. He was the number one quarterback for the class before Arch. That's where I'm confused on. So when he committed to Ohio State, that wasn't technically his class. That's the part I'm confused on. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I wonder if it's one of those things where you can redesignate your class, you know what I mean? Like I think
because he was a redshirt, I wonder because he never really played at Ohio State. He was a redshirt. He didn't play a single down, so that year technically doesn't count. I wonder if there's a loophole there where it's like you didn't play, so it doesn't really count as a year there. And
that's a possibility. But I mean, at the same time, like we've got, you've got a Manning who's coming in. A Manning is not going to be there for more than 3 years. Let's just be honest. But do you want to throw a Manning in on, again?
It'll be interesting to see if Arch takes the redshirt route.
I don't think. Why would you? Why would you take a redshirt if you know you're not going to be there for 4 years? What's the point?
Well, do you think? But again, if you don't think you're going to play, right? Then you redshirt to get that to give you the opportunity.
He will play, and I guess that's my.
You think he's gonna? You think he's gonna take it? You think he's gonna earn it this year?
No. I didn't say he was going to take the job. I said that he'll play. You have to keep in mind there are going to be times where Texas blows out somebody who's on their schedule. Well, why would you not want to get Arch Manning some reps and things like that? He'll play. He's just not going to be the starter. You want Ewers to be your starter. Now, look, if Ewers goes out there and by game 3, he's thrown 9 interceptions, you might start getting the chance of we want Manning. But I don't think he's the starter from day one. Do they redshirt him? No. I think any opportunity that you're in a position for a football team as Texas to where you feel comfortable to put him in as a backup, he doesn't get a redshirt. I think he plays enough. But I don't.
Texas is doing a phenomenal job. I mean, obviously transferring to the SEC, having a top 3 class last year, probably going to finish in the top 5 again this year. They're doing all the right things right now. And again, Texas to me is like the Cowboys. They're like America's football team. Like everybody they're always back, and they haven't been back. But it's going to be very interesting to see how they navigate this quarterback room. It's exciting to watch. I'm pumped to see it go down, and see. Again, who pulls out on top? It's gonna be very interesting.
Is the Big 12 pissed off if Texas makes it to the Big 12 championship? God, they're just gonna be so mad, right?
They make it to a Final Four, right on their year out. Like they're finally are back, and they're like, all right, see you later. We're gonna go bring all this love to the SEC. See you later, guys.
Gotta go, guys. Appreciate all the fun.
Very, very, very interesting. I love it. We'll see how it goes down. Boys and girls, welcome to the stream. If you guys are just hopping in here, a long, late show. I told you guys had a jam-packed, got a lot to go over, a lot of things to discuss. Look, loving that we're fired up here in March. Also, too, we're going to be doing a March Madness bracket. I'm going to work on putting that out, and I'll post a link. It's free to anybody to play. I think we're going to do like a $250 prize pool. I haven't decided on the amount just yet, but free to entry. You got to just play. I don't care if you don't like basketball or not. We're huge about March Madness here, so you can suck it because it literally is Christmas. Can't wait to have a 19-leg parlay, and I'm cheering for number 17, 18, and 19 to hit and land my $1 bet into $150 because that's what we live for here on these random Tuesdays.
Sure.
So
if you haven't been here on Friday, that's true. That's what we live for.
That's what we do. That's what we do. We want to talk about some Jags. It's obviously a little bit early, but that's kind of we had some fun here in the playoffs. The Jags are it feels everything's buzzing towards the Super Bowl. A lot of noise is talking about they should be able to go and get it done this year. Now, I think they need to make some good draft picks. I think they probably should make a few pickups. But I want to go over a few things. Two letters have been released. One from Trevor Lawrence to Duval. He wrote a handwritten letter, give or take handwritten. And now Calvin Ridley released a letter today. This was more to NFL, kind of apologizing for his stint, what happened to him, the mental health and anxiety that he dealt with. Great article. If you haven't read it, go check it out. It's really cool. The reason I bring this up and I preface the article, as a Braves fan, we had something like this occur similar to this. When the Braves were on their World Series run, an article was released. It was a letter to the A from none other than Big Cock Jock Peterson. Okay, this guy was traded to the Braves midseason when we basically didn't have a pot to piss in, and he was like, "Why am I going to Atlanta?" The guy's an absolute spark. One of my favorite baseball players there is, just because of how great he is. Comes in, brings an energy. He's wearing pearls around his neck. He writes a letter to the A, just describing his experience, the brotherhood that was being built in the clubhouse, getting to know the pitchers, and the famous quote, "We are those motherfuckers," or "You are those motherfuckers," came from this article. And there's another Braves fan at work, and both of us got the alert that this was released, and we both went to separate offices to read it, not knowing that we went into separate offices. We both walked out. We finished at the same time, both read at a third grade level. It took about 10 minutes to read. And we look up, and we're both in tears, like just emotionally driven from this. And I go, "Did you read it too?" He goes, "Yeah." And we hugged. The reason I tell you that story is to tell you this. We get a letter from Big Cock Jock. We win a World Series. We've now gotten 2 letters from Jaguar players. This is something powerful here I want you guys to realize, and what this does to not only a fan base, but to an organization and to the people around you. Is that tells you these guys took a minute to sit down and write a letter. Say, "Hey, we're coming. We're serious about this." It's accountability now, because now it's printed. It's in ink. You're not just saying it in an interview. You're not just kind of off the whim. You sat down and you thought about it, and you put your thoughts to paper, and it's out there forever, and it's probably going to be framed. If they go and win, if they make it to the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be surprised to see this damn letter on a statue of some sort. So the Jags are in a mindset right now of
there's
win.
a reason why they call it receipts. It's on paper.
Yep.
You put it on paper.
There it is.
It's not just conjecture. It's not just I'm venting. Like a letter, it's paper, and that's that to the day. Receipts matter. That's what you put it.
Yeah, and look, I think it's hype, but we saw what they were doing last year. I think that AFC game against Kansas City, the divisional round game, I feel like they could have won that game. It almost felt like they didn't believe they could win it. But Doug Peterson's done a great job. Trevor Lawrence is a generational quarterback like Joey B. I still think Joey B is obviously better, but I think what they're doing there is something special. And I want to go, before we get into a mock draft here, I want to go over this too. And I actually see Hank in here talking about this. I saw an article where it talked about the Jags trading for Derrick Henry. And obviously that's something crazy to think about, right? But it has these 3 opportunities of how this could happen. The 3 possibilities of what trade it could be. The first trade is obviously Jags get Derrick Henry, and the Titans would get a future 2nd-round pick and a future 3rd-round pick. Now, again, keep in mind, all these trades, the Jags are going to be unloading a lot of picks in them. And it may seem like that's a lot to give up for an old running back. And again, running backs do not have a long life. But if the Jags are in the mindset win now, and this would say, hey, we're here to win now, and for a running back that has basically ran over you for the last, 5 or 6 years, would be absolutely massive. To have him combined with Travis, excuse me, would be huge. Now, it could be just more of a little bit of a pray and hope. It's written by the fan-sided article, so obviously this is that fanatic hope of obviously with the Titans being on the chopping block. But again, these are one of those trades when you're in that contention to go win a Super Bowl, right? You got to go out there and you've got to sometimes send it for the big dog. Do I think the Jags will do it? I don't know. What's your thoughts on it?
I mean, it seems a little bit far-fetched. I don't know. I mean, could it happen? Sure. Would it be? It'd be a lease. I just don't. I don't see where the value is. I mean,
it's a one and done kind of thing. Right? You're going to win now.
A short-term marriage. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
look. I mean, the 1-2 punch between a Derrick Henry, depending on which version of Derrick Henry you get. Last year's version, I don't want that. The 2-year version ago, I want that. But I mean, the two style punch that you get from Derrick Henry and ETN would be, hell, you don't even need Trevor Lawrence at that point. You could just turn around and be what Henney or Tannehill's been for the last couple of years, where you just turn around and hand the damn ball off, and you can win as many games as you want as long as your defense can keep up. I mean, I like it. I don't know how realistic it is, but I like it.
Yeah, I think so. This type of trade, to me, the reason I like it is not only what he can do on the field, but what it says, again, to your fans, but to the locker room. You make this trade, you're letting everybody know, why we're doing this. Because we have ETN. We think he's a phenomenal running back. We've got him for a long time. Why this trade? Well, we know, look, this is a little bit more of a upgrade. Derrick Henry wouldn't be the load like he is in Tennessee. Imagine a fresh Derrick Henry, right? Not having to literally carry the team going into the fourth quarter.
Could you imagine Derrick Henry thinking about a fresh Derrick Henry?
It's a fresh.
That guy's got to think about
pretty fresh.
This
pretty
is
fresh
amazing
Derrick.
for me.
It's pretty fresh Derrick, if you ask me. So look, it's obviously a little bit out there. The second trade option they have is the Jags get Henry and a future 3rd-round pick, and they trade their future 1st-round pick. Again, I feel like the 1st-round pick, that's a pretty hefty one. We've been able to kind of put together a few pieces that has led to, where we're at now, but we've also blown a few 1st-round draft picks. So that's that. And the last one here, this one feels obviously a little bit more realistic. Derrick Henry, we get Derrick Henry and a future 2nd-round pick, but we get rid of the 2023 2nd-round pick, which is the 57th pick overall, a future 3rd-round pick, a future 6th-round pick, and Zay Jones. Now, with the addition of Calvin Ridley, I mean, it doesn't feel as much as a loss.
Evan Ingram, we just franchised him. Zay could be disposable, I guess, at that point, right? I mean, you're talking about having Christian Kirk, who I think
having Zay Jones, Christian Cook, Calvin Ridley, that's big too, though. So that's what I'm saying. I don't think we just get away with giving away a few picks. I think there's going to have to be some bodies that get tossed in that as well. But look, it's fun to talk about. Obviously, that's where we're at. We're in talking season, so I think the next important thing that's more realistic and up close is going to be the draft. With the 24th pick in the 1st round, who do the Jags go and get? Obviously, a lot of people have their mock drafts out there. We just dropped Shaquille, correct?
Yeah, Shaq Griffin. Yeah, he's
Shaq
done.
Griffin.
He's out. We put him on the block for 72 hours, I want to say. We put him out there for a trade. We got absolutely zero bite. Just instead of waiting around, we had a deadline, so it gets $12.3 million off of our salary cap and what we have to work with for next year.
I think
huge move.
The big drop is it shows one, they're creating room. So and we're gonna get into the draft pick and your reasoning for certain things. So
yep.
I'm kind of gonna build off what you said, because you said in the precast they probably have a guy in mind for how quickly they dropped him. There's a replacement in mind. And you were speaking more towards the draft, and I will get to that. But now that we're talking about it, it could be there's somebody on the free agency that they're looking at. And obviously that paycheck was blocking the way. So that's going to be something that they look at. But who do you think they go after I think more so, probably who do you think and who do you think they should? Or maybe it's the same answer for you.
Look, it's the 24th pick. I mean, if all things go well, in my opinion, we should go after Joey Porter Jr. from Penn State. He's a cornerback, big guy, 6'2". He comes from a lineage of football. He's obviously the son of Joey Porter, the linebacker that played in Pittsburgh for so many years. I think if we can position ourselves correctly, or if things just go our way, that guy falls to us. And if we can get him, we would be remiss considering the fact that we just made that move with Shaquille not to take him in the first round. I like Joey Porter as our first pick at 24 if we can get him.
So I told you that was a little bit of a stretch. I think cornerback could make sense that early. I don't know if it's Porter, but we're going to have a draft night, obviously, too. My pick is an offensive tackle. I think I see someone in the comments said Bijan Robinson. That would be interesting. I would love that personally. I love Bijan and that he came from Texas, but that would be. I think it wouldn't be the right move. Wouldn't be the right direction. I think they have Bijan going a little bit later. We could even scoop him up a second round. Obviously, if we don't do the Henry thing, a few buzz names that are going around are. The tight end out of Georgia right now. But obviously an offensive tackle is going to be the big one for me. They have us getting Darnell Wright from Tennessee. That's where the mock draft is. For me personally, who I would love to get in this would be O'Cyrus Torrence, obviously being a Gator boy. I definitely think he's a late first-round draft pick, and he falls right into that category. Again, I don't see O'Cyrus, unfortunately, on many of these mock drafts that I'm looking at. I know at one point that he was, but I do not see him anymore. But I would love to have him for him to fall there. So,
well, think about the 1-2 punch. I mean, if we can get Joey Porter to fall to 24, Cyrus
could fall to 57th. Sure.
Yeah.
I think Porter, but see, I looked up. I think Porter was ranked like 10th in cornerbacks.
So I saw that as well, and I think you and I talked about it. But I mean, so I'm gonna hop on Pro Football Focus and do their quick, just most recent updated first round mock, and it's got Joey Porter going at 14 for New England, and then the NFL Network has him going to number 21 at the Chargers.
Okay.
With us taking a corner, Cam Smith out of South Carolina at number 24. So it looks like, I don't know, from what we've seen, just based on the overall stack ranking for the position, I think it looks like maybe he's a little bit further down from, I guess, the grades that he's getting. It seems like they're a little bit higher than what we can see just if you put them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down the list.
Callie says we're cute because we're both Jag fans. I don't disagree with that. It's also because our new Manscaped are all cleaned up, fresh. But
did you use code high top?
What was I saying? I got distracted by the cuteness overload there. Look, maybe I'm off with the offensive tackle. Maybe the cornerback play might be the move from those
no. I mean, so just for the record, PFF has us taking an offensive tackle.
Okay, so it's gonna be interesting to see. If you're a Jags fan, let us know down in the comments what do you think is most likely, and what do you want? What do you want to see? So, well, I mean, Steve, I think to say that this show was a hoot would be an understatement.
I mean, I'm just glad that I could jump on later and tone it down a little bit. Like, I'm surprised. Like,
yeah, you definitely toned it down.
Nobody who's ever watched this show would ever think that I'm going to get on this and it's going to tone it down a little bit to maybe kind of reel things in. Tonight was the night. I had to throw a wet blanket on you.
It got bug nasty in here for a little bit. It got a little sweaty, and that's a good thing I had the ball conditioner here to tone me down a little bit. But
I love it.
Look, great show. Love you guys hanging out. love you guys hanging out with us. It excites me that we're able to get this much traction in March. Just shows that we got a pretty awesome fan base, and you guys rock as always. And it's only gonna get spicier, I think, over the next few weeks. We're gonna keep turning it up. March Madness starts next week. Again, we're gonna be doing a bracket for that. Keep your eyes peeled. I'll just be dropping like a post on Twitter and on YouTube, so you can join that and compete. If you don't like basketball, I don't care. Still join the link. Don't be a bitch.
Just jump in. My gosh,
just pick,
it's just
bro.
fun.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows the answer. No, I don't watch bats. Shut up. Nobody cares. Just pick
Nobody,
a damn
nobody
team.
cares about like Manhattan versus like Western Directional School that you've never heard of. It's just still fun to watch. Get off.
It's a great
your
time, dude.
schneid
It's
and be
fun.
cool.
You get to talk shit.
Have fun.
You put a massive parlay together. So Ultra Gators says, "At work, go Gators." I love it. Love you guys that are at work, hanging out with us, watching us. Love you guys as always. Again, if it would mean a lot to you guys if you don't have any manscaping stuff to go help us out a lot. Use that code. And then we keep this show alive and keep us afloat here. So, Steve, love you as always, bud. Great show. We'll keep up with the talks. Andrew says, love the show. Go Gators. When are y'all coming to Key West? Shit. What's up, Andrew? What's up, Bubba?
What's up?
I saw that Linky is home, man. Good to hear, buddy. Good to hear that Linky is home.
Oh,
well.
what's up, man? Apple.
And Hank, I know you're an Oklahoma fan. I think we met you on Ty's show. Look, man, I hate Oklahoma. But your support is incredible, dude. Appreciate you coming on here and hanging out. Still, fuck the Sooners.
You're one of the new like combined rivals now. So
yeah. I can't stand your football team, but you seem like a good dude. So I appreciate you coming here talking shit. And I think he was even talking shit. There was an Ohio State guy in here just blowing up the chat. I had to block him because he was getting a little
Golly, he was the worst.
I don't mind it, but when you're
He
just like
was
he spammed the chat, and I was like, all right, that's your you cross the line.
He
there,
was worse
so.
than a bot. He was worse than a bot.
It's like, dude, like you're just being dumb. Like you want to have a conversation and talk shit, that's cool. But yeah, that was enough for me. But guys, love you as always. Appreciate you for hanging out. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, turn the bell on. We're dropping videos every single day. We will be live next Wednesday at 8:35. So till then, I'm Sheldon.
And I'm Holly.
Boogity, boys. We'll watch NASCAR.
Cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. Ha!